Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic of the States, one nation, liberty and justice.
Thank you. Call this meeting to order Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. I will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Little echo.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda A through K.
Yeah.
Yeah, only item that maybe need clarification on is H. And that is the portion that I will be approved, or we will approve through this today. Will actually, I will sign it, but then Becky still has a bunch of work to do on the side. That's not part of the agreement that I'm signing today. So just understand that that's for the river project. Yeah, so. Any further discussion? All right, here, all in favor? Aye, motion carries. All right, so now we will move into public comment. If you have a public comment, you could come and address the council. If you'd sit or stand there, state your name. You have 3 minutes to tell us whatever's on your heart and mind. Any public comment?
Nobody else wants to echo?
Can you hear that echo? There's an echo in here. Can you help a guy out?
Is it on?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's echoing. I just had one comment about the Planning and Zoning Commission. Last meeting, you changed the bylaws, but I just wanted to note that you are still not in compliance with the bylaws on your committee as of 2 weeks ago. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment? If you, come to the front, for sure. Just state your name and whatever's on your mind.
Sorry, I've never done this. My name's Bill Laster, okay? I'm 74 years old. I served this country. The firearms deal is a pretty important thing to me, and I'm asking you to support that, to make Moffett County a sanctuary county, not just say, you know, that you agree with the firearm thing, to make a stand and risk your
Resolution 2023-59 constitutional rights. I know I wasn't there. I apologize. But the commissioners have met with a group that brought these to us. And I believe there were some amendments, but everybody was on kosher or happy. Okay, so Chair, entertain a motion or?
No, I don't have any further. I think we together got her ironed out. So agreement on everything. So good workshop.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve resolution 2023-53 for the Second Amendment's right resolution.
Okay, second, and any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve resolution 2023-59 concerning constitutional rights.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. And I think that, you know, those are some of those things that, we all believe in here. We all believe in our constitutional rights. We all believe in Second Amendment, and some things we pass for a statement. They haven't, nothing we could really do, but there's a statement that you let everybody know that this is what we stand for. And so I think some of those are good. So appreciate that. Appreciate you guys bringing it to us. Yeah. So we have a public hearing at 9, but we will, I think you got 24 minutes. You think you can get your stuff done in 24 minutes? Come on up. If you can, or quit, you're shut off anyway. Office of Development Services, Roy Titman, and a change order with United Companies parking lot, asphalt and pay applications to BHI number 18. So.
All right, we'll try that.
Every time I talk, it echoes on you.
It was muted for echo.
Mr. Tipton.
Okay. First up is a change order to United Companies for paving. This is to pave the entire parking lot here at this facility. Our original was just to do the drive lanes and I didn't include the whole thing because we were trying to figure out where the money's coming from. We're going to fund this through that LATCF money that the county received last year. The amount of this is $795,842. That will get us 100% complete by September this year.
And I think it's very important that we've all done projects that we do one thing and then we're going to get to this part in 6 months or in a year and you never get to that part, you know? That's just how. You don't have the money or whatever, you didn't get it done. Yeah, be complete. Before we're going to do a motion, I think it's important too that if we wouldn't have put this with Road and Bridge and that type of thing, it would have been way more than this, right?
Yes, we tagged on to a previous bid that Road and Bridge did for all the apron work they're doing. And we added on for drive lanes here through that contract. And this is in addition to that to be able to do the whole thing. This will be, we'll do it in 2 modes. So we'll do half at a time. It'll be a bit of a challenge with everybody here, but we'll be better off for it.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve this change order with United Companies for the parking lot asphalt for $795,842.
Motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right, next up is pay app number 18 for BHI. This is in the amount of $242,623.35. We are still at about 98.5% complete. Doesn't count the outside work and things we're trying to get wrapped up here. They will be here through September as we try to wrap up all the remaining details, so.
Those little details sometimes take a while.
Yeah, some of the, we are still waiting on equipment and materials that was ordered 9 months ago that we still don't have. And it's just part of the world we live in right now.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the pay application BHI number 18 in the amount of $242,623.35.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the last, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I interrupted you.
You're all right. You're all right.
I just wanted to run through the pay app summary, where we're at on the project to date. Total contracts with BHI and change orders is $21,550,321.23. That includes all the exterior work to US 40. Does not include the asphalt because we did that separately. Our total expenses to date are $20,710,004.59. And if you have any questions, I have all of the pay apps listed there. And we've gone through from beginning to now. Okay.
A lot of money.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, so we have 18 minutes before we can get into our public hearing, because that's when it was posted. So we are going to take an 18-minute recess, and then we will get back. Yeah, right. So we'll take a recess. We'll be back at 9 o'clock.
Time already?
Yep, we will come back into session and go into a public hearing. Let the record show regarding today's posted public hearing. Okay, let the record show regarding today's posted public hearing. Carmani exploration, gathering lines conditional use permit C-23-01. The purpose of this project is to install a 6-inch steel gathering line from a production well. So if you want to come, Candace. And so this agenda item was approved or was advertised, sorry, on the paper in April 24th, 2023. So once the public hearing has been declared, I will ask Candace, or they're already here, to present to the Board of County Commissioners the request as submitted. Once the presentation is complete, the commissioners may ask questions or make comments. I will then ask the audience if there is anyone who wants to testify either for or against. Any citizen of Moffat County may testify once the public hearing has been declared and all the information has been presented. For those who want to testify, you will be asked to approach the commissioners, state your name for the record, and you'll be given 3 minutes to present your testimony either for or against. Erin Miller will be the timekeeper today. She will notify the Board of County Commissioners and the speaker that 20 seconds remain before your time is up. No decisions will be made during the public hearing. This is an opportunity for any of you to provide testimony in favor or in opposition of the proposed request. The commissioners have the option of asking questions and answering questions related to the topic during the hearing process. Once all testimony has been heard, the public hearing will be declared closed and we will go back into regular session, and I will then refer back to the Board of County Commissioners for discussion and a decision on said proposal. So we will go into public hearing now, and you may present what you have.
Okay. So John Carmody is here. Carmody Gathering Lines. This was a conditional use permit that was previously approved by the previous board in 2017. And because of the gap in time to the start of the project, I thought it would be valuable for him to come back in to resubmit to get this in front of the Planning Commission. Unfortunately, we did not have a quorum at our meeting. So making, based on the previous approval, a staff recommendation for the project. And I asked him to be here so that he can answer any questions in regard to the details of the project. It's pretty exciting project.
So this is all in the north of Moffat County. Do you want to give us a little oversight real quick before we open it up to?
Sure. If we could move, let's see what, word to a map. That's the easiest thing to look at. If we can get there. There it is. There's a pretty good map right there, at least to show the audience. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to come in, present this. Appreciate your attention and your time. We've been working up here in Moffat County, even though I'm not a resident. I feel like I'm at least a part-time resident because I've been working on this project for about 20 years. So I started when I was a young man with dark hair. Now I've progressed. It's sort of a lifetime project in terms of what we've started, how this developed. We drilled the original discovery well, which is at the very south end of that red line, which would just be up Slater Creek. Actually, if you could move the map up just a little bit, because that's the facility there, a little bit more. There, that blue dot right there. It's right near the Routt County line, but it's in Moffat County, section 36 of 11 North, 89 West. It's what we call the Slater Creek drainage there. The original well was it was a vertical well drilled in 2015. We were actually drilling for a deeper target. But in doing so, we drilled through the Niobrara. We knew the Niobrara was in here. You're well aware of the Niobrara potential. Moffat County is the owner of the biggest well in the state of Colorado, just southeast of town here. Very famous Trend Nolan well that made 1.6 million barrels out of a vertical well, unfracked, not a horizontal, untreated. Basically, it just flowed for years. So the Niobrara had a lot of attention. In fact, the original Niobrara production in the state of Colorado was right here around Craig, around 20 million barrels before horizontal drilling and fracking in other parts of the states made it viable. So Moffat County has a long history in the Niobrara. So we drove through the Niobrara and it was very interesting. We had trouble setting casing down through it just because of the pressure that we're running into. And we made a vertical well, which earned our what we call the Welba Peak unit, which is a federal exploration unit. This is in 2015. But in looking at the logs and the data, we realized that something very special was going on here. Not only were we in an oil zone, but we had what we call extensive thermal fracturing. And basically what happens is the Niobrara everywhere from the Denver Basin all through this area is full of oil. I mean, it's just completely full of oil. The problem is that the Niobrara is a very tight formation and the oil won't move. Over in the Denver Basin, you have 35 to 40 million barrels of original oil in place for every square mile in the Niobrara. When we get out here to Moffat County and up in our area, we're over 100 million barrels of original oil in place. That oil's there. It's not a matter of my interpretation. It's there. The problem is you can't get it to move. And that's what happens as you get into shallower depths. It's locked there. I think you're all aware. Shell made a big play down here, south of Craig, giant play, tried wells, tried every frac known to man, and just couldn't get it to work. But they saw that oil and they said, there's got to be a way. And in the end, Shell, which is smart and good oil company anywhere, couldn't make it work. In the meantime, we were off in a much deeper part of the basin. And basically what happens is as the temperature increases, part of that oil starts to convert to gas. All right, so it's oil in place when it's shallow, but as it gets deeper, part of the oil is getting hot. It's starting to kind of boil off in the formation and become part of it gas. Well, if you have a tight formation, there's nowhere for the pressure to go. So what happens is it just starts to build up pressure, whereas your normal pressure at 10,000 feet, which is the depth of the Niobrara, would be around 4,600 pounds, something like that. Our pressures are well over 6,000, maybe up a size 6,500 pounds. And that's just pure pressure building up in the rock. And what happens when the pressures get that high is it breaks the rock. And it breaks it relative to a stress field. And there's a whole another complexion. But bottom line is we have vertical fractures. Well, when we drilled our vertical well and you're drilling past vertical fractures that are created by this thermal event or change in the oil to gas, you're drilling right past vertical fractures. You're not intersecting them. So you see a little bit of it, you see a hint of it. We could make a vertical well by fracking those verticals, but you really don't get a sense of what you're dealing with. But the logs indicated we could see these thermal fractures. And so we talked to our investors. And again, I've had the same investors from 2003 right up until now. They're best people on earth because they have sat here and watched this thing develop. And they haven't just said, you're full of it. We're going to go invest in golf courses and do something useful, rather than this. But anyway, they allowed us to go ahead and drill a horizontal well out of the vertical well. So we kicked off at about 10,000 feet there and drilled out about a mile. As soon as we went horizontal in our main formation there, we entered basically a different world. It's because now we're going across these fractures as opposed to drilling past them. And basically the well, it didn't blow completely out, but it came to see us. And as opposed to 10 pounds per gallon is what we drilled the vertical well with mud weight. Now it took over 12 pounds per gallon to control this pressure. Just again, totally different world. And in this area that we're dealing with, it basically spreads from the Elkhead Mountains all the way up to Bags. We are the first people to drill a horizontal well in it. So we're the first people to really see this. within this particular zone. We call it the Goldilocks zone because you have to be above a certain temperature in order for this conversion to take place, but you can't be too hot. If you get too hot, as Axia found out just north of town here, it's all converted to gas. So we call it the Goldilocks zone. You can't be too hot, you can't be too cold, you got to be just right, as the old story goes. So, and that's what we found was this reservoir, and so you map it with temperatures. It's structure related because the structure controls what your temperatures are, but the temperatures vary all over the place. It's really odd to look at it because, for instance, there's a spot here just north of Craig that almost was a volcano. It's so hot just here north of Craig, and that's what Axia ran into, where it was just way too hot. It had all converted to gas. There was a magma event there, something here just north of town that just never got to the surface, but you can sure see it in the temperatures. So, but anyway, this is the game we're playing. And as we map it out, it basically covers about 300 square miles in here, where this particular overpressured oil, because we don't want to be gas. Everybody knows the price of gas. You can't afford to drill these wells. And if you're too shallow, you don't have it. But within this Goldilocks zone, it covers around 250, 300 square miles, is this resource. Now, in terms of developing it, obviously, it's a resource play. It takes a certain amount of acreage that you have to control in order to drill the wells. And when we put a pad on, and there'll be a series of pads going up Slater Creek, we'll be going 2 miles out in each direction. Well, that's basically 4 miles wide. So that, and in order to get into a program, just in terms of infrastructure, just like this pipeline and everything else, you can't do it for one well. You can't do it for 10 wells. You got to do it for, many, many wells, which is our plan. But of course, it's going to be obviously it's a tremendous capital investment. So it's got to be very stepwise in terms of cash flow and what you can afford to do year to year. So we've got 30,000 acres in there that we control. The BLM in the end will control this whole play, whether it extends all the way to Bags or not, because basically you're dealing with mostly BLM acreage between where we are and Bags there. And again, you have to be able to control the 2 miles out in order to drill the wells, because you can't drill for a 1 mile horizontal. But anyway, we drilled our big well there and actually went in and drilled a 2 mile horizontal in 2018. It just took a while to test it. We've had several months of production and time. We really started ready to go. Then here comes COVID and the price of collapse. And so we shut the well in there in April of 2020, actually. And then we're about ready to turn it back on. And we got to look, and here comes the flaring. It's not just a block in the state of Colorado. You can't flare gas. You can do it for a couple of months when you first discover a well. Of course, we were already beyond those few months. And so we're in this chicken egg business where we have no cash flow out of it. We have a very good well, but no cash flow out of it. So can't afford to drill more wells. And we tried to bring big partners in, but nobody's interested because we don't have a gas line. So in the end, just because of the rules in Colorado, you have to have a gas line out in order to make this project work. And but I'd like to point out that Moffat County is blessed in many, many ways, but this is a particular blessing that this sits in here like it does, because I've looked around for it elsewhere, just for various reasons. It's just not this expensive. They are drilling some similar wells out further to the west. I think Anschutz just made a big one out here, and there's another one just up in Wyoming there, but it's deeper in all gas. It's very high well, but this is, again, it's just a matter of, it takes years to get this sorted out as to where it is, how it works. And so I compliment Moffat County for Jeff and has been encouraging all along. I've always had cooperation, support from the county to make this work. And of course, my investors are the best people because they hung in there. And if they had, it would have been easy to walk away at any time. And so that's just too much. But they are coming back, and they're the ones that are funding the pipeline, and they're actually looking at drilling 2 wells either later this year, depending on the pipeline timing. Because again, there's no sense drilling wells until you
With
have a
that,
pipeline. But they're actually looking at drilling 2 wells themselves, which is major investments. So they believe in it. Obviously, as I think we're all aware, as we discussed it's funny because technology through time, for years, I drilled wildcats and I drilled more dry holes than anybody should be allowed, but that's just what you did, to try to make discoveries. And now it's kind of reversed around where we drill this because of horizontal drilling and fracking. We can actually get these reservoirs figured out and identified. And so the geologic risk or the natural resource risk is not as near as great as it used to be. In fact, there won't be any dry holes. It's just a matter of how economic the particular wells are, but you just don't drill dry holes in the Niobrara here. And what's happened now, as we're all well aware, is it's sort of a political risk in terms of, okay, we're going to make this big investment. Will they allow us to produce it? Or are they just going to declare oil and gas people outlaws, chase us down or whatever? I mean, it's kind of nutty, but of course, we're seeing lots of nutty things going on in terms of crime and everything else. So it's not beyond the possibility. So in terms of the risk going forward, it just stews into it. So thank God for Moffat County.
Yes, for sure.
Thank God for people like you who at least appreciate that there's nothing more valuable, I think personally, in the world than a barrel of American oil, because it's just, that's what our economy runs on. I've looked back a few years ago, we were using 20 million, or we weren't producing, but using 20 million barrels a day, producing about maybe a little over half of that. And today, if you look back at the most recent numbers, we're still using 20 million barrels a day. So all this tremendous investment, all this green energy hasn't decreased our dependence. The only way they can change that probably is just flat out law it, as they're trying to do in certain states and all. So it just is what it is. But we recognize that. With that, the investors are willing to move forward, and we certainly appreciate your support in building this pipeline. It will be, as we discussed, it's going to be buried. Try to hit 4 feet. They may not hit it some of the real rocky areas where it's just not as deep. We will be boring under the county roads, and the stream crossing. Of course, this is an unusual year with the amount of water flowing down. They may bore them if there's, depending on irrigation and everything else that's going on the particular creeks. They may just trench it, lay it in there, because they can have a lot better control on what sits right on top of the pipeline if they actually trench it and put what they want on the pipeline, as opposed to boring underneath and kind of taking a chance on what's there. So, but that's we're just on the verge of selecting our contractors. Obviously, with the topography along the route, it has its challenges. It's rocky, and we go up and down. We actually cross a ridge at the very upper 3/4 of the pipeline there. That's on the east ridge of Camelback Mountain, where it's the easternmost point right there. And it's basically as high right there it is as our well, which is right at 8,000 feet. You go back up, so you drop down to about 7,100 or 7,200 feet at the Duncan facility, which will be a oil loadout place on County Road 1. And then you have to go climb back up, push that back up over that ridge. And then from there, we drop down to the Slater Dome line that we bought in 2017. Entech was a company that was in here, and they had acquired it from the people that originally built the line. And that line more or less runs along the state line over to south of Baggs, where it ties into Mountain West. And Mountain West has just been bought by Williams. So we're doing all the studies, and we've got engineers looking at us how to tie in, what kind of gas we're going to push, where we're going to strip the liquids out, and different things like that. So there's a whole giant engineering study going on with this in terms of how this what will actually move through. It's probably going to be wet gas that will be pushing through, because they don't think they can push oil over that and push it all the way to Baggs. So.
Sorry to interject. I
Sure.
just wanted to mention also that the contractors that they select will be working with Road and Bridge on any right away or county road.
I appreciate that.
involvement.
Commissioners, you guys have any questions?
So it looks like a lot of this is on private, right? So it's been enough time, you can got all your agreements and everything.
Yes, we have all the right-of-way
Yeah,
agreements.
than that.
Yeah, we bought actually 8 years ago in 2015 or so, we bought the right-of-ways, knowing that eventually the line was going to have to get out of here. And we've got you know, very cooperative ranches. A lot of the ranchers have their minerals. The Duncans have their minerals. And they've been really the leading family on this whole thing. And, just very disappointing that Dwayne Duncan, who was ran the ranch there, he passed away last summer. It just broke my heart that he did, because it was just a dream to see this thing take off, because it means it's generational in terms of the effect it's going to have on their ability to run the ranch and keep it going and everything. So big difference for these ranching families in there.
100%. Any
No.
questions? Thank you for that. And so at this time, I will open it to the audience. If there's anyone that would like to come and speak either for or against this pipeline. One more. Yeah, just come right into that mic, right next to Candace, if you would.
Here, no, I'll.
My name's Tracy Winder. I'm a resident of the city and the county. I'm also a small mineral interest owner. And, well, based on everything that's been said, I think it's pretty obvious we're going to need hydrocarbons for the foreseeable future. But thanks to the state of Colorado and politics, my mineral interests are virtually worth nothing. So any development with a reputable organization that we can engage with, I am for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Speak either for it or against it. One last time. Anyone would like to speak for or against? All right, hearing none. Thank you. Appreciate it. We will now come out of public hearing and go back into regular session. And what's the pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the conditional use permit C-2301 as presented.
Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, that's all we have for our agenda. Our next meeting will be May 23rd, 2023 at 8:30.